Donald Trump's proposal to temporarily ban Muslims entering the U.S. and the attack in San Bernardino have many of America's 5 million Muslims defending their faith. We sat down with 5 Muslim millennials, all born and raised right here in the United States. College student R.J. Califf, Army Lieutenant Sean Khan, nursing student Samia Omarkeel, college student Taqwa Brookins, and journalist Noor Tagori.
Donald Trump's rhetoric didn't even hit me hard until last week. I had my absolute best childhood friend. Since I was 6 years old. She lived across the street. I saw her mother as a mother, and they're white Christians, and her mom on Facebook posted this super hateful post about Muslims. But I saw this post and I just broke down in tears. It was so hard for me to see. And I wrote her this long letter, like, you know us. Like, we're my mom, like, you guys know each other. I just went to your wedding last year. Like, we're the Muslim family that you know, and you know we're not like that.
What do you think people misunderstand about the values of Islam?
I think they believe too much that the religion places an emphasis on violence.
The Quran was written in Arabic, which is a deeply metaphorical language where one word has hundreds of meanings. So if you want to define it in a violent sense, you're going to be able to define it in a violent sense. The same way if you want to define it in a peaceful sense, which 1.5 billion people do, you're going to be able to do so.
But there are no verses in the Quran that allow killing of innocent people under any circumstances.
Terrorism, in your view, is outlawed.
It's
by
outlawed.
The Quran.
It's the last thing any Muslim should be doing.
When you hear of an attack like the one in Paris, like the one in San Bernardino, and you have to get up and go to work or go to school the next day, what's going through your mind?
I remember after the attacks had happened, I was terrified because I knew that we would get the backlash for what had happened to all those innocent people.
Had any of you been confronted by somebody on the street? Anybody have words with you?
Yeah. It was the Monday after the Paris attacks had happened, and I went to school. I was walking, and a man that was leaning against a parking meter, I was walking past him, and he stuck out his leg, and he tripped me right in front of, everybody, and I fell onto the floor. And then he threw down his cigarette, and he started screaming in my ear, like on the right side. He was just like, go back to where you came from. And
he didn't mean Long Island.
No, that's what I thought he meant. That's where I'm from. And I've never felt hate like that before, so it was the first time for me.
Lieutenant, when you decided to join the Army, was there a lot of conversation in the family about that?
Everyone that wasn't in the military was like, are you going to go and kill your own people? This is crazy, what are you doing? That's when I did my own research and I found out there's plenty of Muslims serving in the military. There's religious tolerance, there's respect.
I wonder how it strikes your ear when you hear ISIS in particular claiming that it's doing everything that it's doing in the name of all Muslims.
I don't understand how logically does it make sense to say that ISIS represents all Muslims and is fighting for all Muslims when they're killing the very people who they claim that they represent.
There's nothing Islamic about ISIS. Islam, it comes from the root word salam, sin, lam, mim, the 3 Arabic letters. That literally translates to peace. ISIS goes against the very tenets of it.
We're hearing from Muslim American Republican strategist and CBS News contributor Frank Luntz led a focus group last night here in Studio 57. Frank, good morning.
Good morning. Our discussion included 16 people, all Muslim, and all but 3 born here in the United States. While there wasn't broad consensus on how to curb anti-Muslim sentiment in America, everyone agreed this is a conversation that had to happen. How does it feel that your faith is at the core of one of the most disruptive, divisive political conversations in a long, long time? How does that make you feel?
I feel optimistic because this gives me a chance and us a chance to tell you guys who we really are.
American Muslims come from 77 different countries, speak over 100 different languages and dialects. We're lumped together a lot in the media, and largely the narrative is something of ISIS or someone else. That's not our religion. That's not our narrative. And I think it's time for us to take that back.
I also think that it's important not to ignore the fact that all this painful conversation is not necessarily positive, even though it is an opportunity. Oftentimes there are manifestations of violence of this rhetoric.
Now, you said it's painful.
Yeah.
How is it painful?
Because my faith is representative of part of who I am. And for me to see that it has been so demonized is painful, and it's scary.
I actually did a call out to Muslim parents across the country to not watch the Republican debate in front of their children, because I knew that subjecting our children to hear the hateful stereotyping and the lumping of Muslims with terrorism in front of our children is actually something that psychologically impacts them. So that's how deep this is for us.
But don't you want the kids to know the challenges that they face?
I don't want my children to be subjected to racism and the vilification of their faith. I will not allow Donald Trump to tell my kids how they should feel about being Muslim.
Right.
How many of you are physically afraid?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're physically afraid.
There has been an increase in hate crimes that has been reported through the Council on American-Islamic Relations, as well as in the United Kingdom, there's been a 300% increase in hate crimes.
But do you understand why people are afraid?
I absolutely understand to a certain degree why people are afraid. We can't hide behind the fact that Americans right now, non-Muslim Americans, do feel afraid. Not because of the fact that their safety is concerned, because somebody looks different.
We're not chanting death to America, okay? We don't have bombs in our hands, okay? We're just being ourselves. And this is a narrative that's missing right now.
I'm proud to be a Muslim, I'm proud to be an American, and no one's gonna take that away from me, regardless.
So I gotta ask you guys, how did you feel when you first learned that the murderer in San Bernardino held your faith?
Every time that there's some kind of an attack in this country, every time that there's any kind of a crime, I'm literally praying, and I'm sure that everyone else here literally praying that it's not a Muslim. Before any facts start rolling through, we're literally praying that it's not a Muslim. And when it is, I know exactly what's going to happen.
The people that committed those heinous crimes, they were not members of my faith. I want that to be very clear.
There is a problem. There's been too many American Muslims that have committed violence, and their interpretation is such that this is in the name of religion. So I don't think we can, run away from that. There's been too many of these incidents.
Are you Muslim first or American first?
I am an American Muslim. I can be both at the same time. I don't choose one over the other. I am an American Muslim. I am both simultaneously.
You know, there are so many other issues besides our religion. You know, this is not a Muslim-only issue. You know, I'm an American. We are Americans here. Yep. You know, and we have so many facets to our identity. Yep. We cannot be characterized in this neat little box.
Repeating that this is un-American, that it's un-American to be hateful towards a group of people is historically inaccurate, as difficult as that is for me to say, because I want to say that this is un-American. This is not what our values are. We have targeted, we have discriminated against. We've had internment camps of groups before. This is an ugly part of our history, and hopefully not a part of our future.
Frank, this is an important debate, a very important conversation that has to be taking place at America in this time. What came out of it? What was, in a sense, the essence of what you saw and heard here?
Very deep frustration that nobody's listening to them, that they are the focus of debate, that they are the focus of all sorts of conversations, many of them negative, and that they don't have a voice, that they're being attacked by the leading presidential candidate, and no one is hearing their response. They were so grateful to be gathered in that room to have the chance to speak out. And by the way, Charlie, there's going to be a much longer clip of this on CBSN, so you can go to the web and see about 10 minutes of this. Because we left out so much, the anger towards Donald Trump, the fear that they have walking in the streets every day. These are voices that aren't heard.
Do they speak to the responsibility of Muslims to get engaged in this controversy, in this conversation?
They do, but they also speak, and I kept trying to ask them that, and they spoke to the responsibility of the media and of society not to label them and not to discriminate against them just because some people, in the name of a religion that they would argue isn't practicing, that they're committing crimes that these people end up getting blamed for. And they talk about the discrimination, and it was very dramatic. For me, it was very emotional. I was trying to be diplomatic, but I'm going to admit something. I did not push as much as I normally do in these sessions.
Why?
And the reason why is because I wanted their voice to be unedited. I did not want to ever push them into saying things that they did not believe. And I have to tell you, Their animosity towards Donald Trump is unprecedented. And what I would love to see is Trump at a Muslim community. Have him hear what they had to say. It would be so dramatic.
Yeah, words are very powerful and can be very hurtful, but that's why it's so important you had this conversation. A reminder again, you can't paint anybody with one brush.
Exactly.
You cannot do it.
But everyone's got to get heard.
Yes, you're right.
Beginning of conversation, hopefully that will lead to some resolution. Frank Luntz, thank you.